Boom! Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today, I'm giving my fight prediction between the upcoming rematch between Josh Warrington and Leigh Wood. Pause. Now, listen, guys, this fight already happened one time. It was a very exciting fight. I'm actually looking forward to this fight. It's getting, thrown under the rug because of all the big fights that are happening this weekend. But it was a really good fight the first time. I thought Josh Warrington was winning the first fight, clearly and honestly putting the beats on this guy by the time of the stoppage, but Leigh Wood just caught him the last 5 seconds and really put a hurting on him to the point where when he got back up, the referee stopped the fight. And it was a little bit of a weird stoppage because Josh Warrington walked over to the corner, and I remember going okay, he made it to the corner, and the referee waved it off. I wouldn't call it a horrible stoppage, but definitely wasn't my favorite stoppage. So Josh Warrington didn't seem like he complained too much about it, but regardless, that's what we have to go off of. There's one common opponent that I really want to mention before I give my prediction, and that's Anthony Kachechi. He's a featherweight champion, a world titleist at 130, and they both fought them after their rematch. After their first fight, and I think they both did a solid, had a solid outing versus a much bigger guy. Clearly, this guy is squeezing down a super featherweight. Anthony Kachechi is probably more of a lightweight. But let's start off with Josh Warrington, right? Josh Warrington had a couple successful early rounds versus Kachechi, and he held it down. He did very solid versus Kachechi. But at some point, you knew this guy wasn't going to beat Kachechi, but clearly he still got some tumble and rumble in him. This guy likes to fight, and he was able to implement his style. It's just Kachechi was just too big and too strong and too good for Josh Warrington, right? I don't want to stay too long on that. They went the full distance, and Josh Warrington did solid. Clearly lost. Leigh Wood, right? I want to point out that I actually think for majority of these moments, he almost did better than Josh Warrington, only because I think I'm starting to realize that Leigh Wood's kryptonite is pressure fighting. He likes to kind of box. That's what he is. He's very, almost looks basic, jab, right? Decent IQ when it comes to dodging. He's a very good all-around fighter, Leigh Wood is, but he was just fighting somebody that was bigger and stronger than him, and at some point he got caught. He seemed like he was taking the punches good for the majority of the fight, and I believe it was the 9th round when he got caught and he got dropped, and then Kachechi just put the beats on him afterwards to the point where the referee stopped it and landed some vicious body shots. So, Warrington went the full distance, did very good. Leigh Wood got stopped, but he had better moments, I believe, than Josh Warrington. And I think it's because Josh Warrington just isn't a big puncher, right? So enough about Kachechi. Josh Warrington is not that huge of a puncher, and I think that works against him sometimes, especially in the first fight, because it almost looked like he was about to put him away a few times, and if he had a little bit more pop, he would have. But Leigh Wood is the bigger puncher in this fight. And there's one thing too, when you have a familiar opponent, right? You're almost a little more comfortable a lot of times, right? And it's happened before. Marquez was just very comfortable with Pacquiao, despite Pacquiao being clearly the superior fighter against majority opponents. Marquez could not accomplish what Pacquiao did, but I thought Marquez won a lot of those fights. I don't even want to get into it. I thought Marquez won a lot of those fights, but clearly he cannot accomplish what Pacquiao did. And I also want to point out, when Paulie Malignaggi beat Lovemore Indo the first time, it was a whitewash. Then when they rematched, Lovemore Indo made it more competitive. And that's what this kind of reminds me of, because it was kind of similar level. These guys are former world champions. They fought in the high level, but they never really beat the elite like that. Although Josh Warrington has that win against Cal Frampton. I'll never forget that. But, when you're familiar with an opponent, you're almost more comfortable. And I think this is going to benefit Leigh Wood here, because Leigh Wood was not doing so well in that first fight, and I think now that he knows he has the capability of knocking out Josh Warrington, I think he's gonna take advantage of that and just be more comfortable in him. Maybe, I don't know exactly what he can do to keep Josh Warrington off though, because even Kachechi couldn't really keep him off. So you're gonna have to start landing these inside punches, these counters in the midst of the storm, because that's what Josh Warrington is gonna do. He's just gonna bring a storm of punches. So I do think that aspect you got to give the advantage to Leigh Wood. But that doesn't necessarily mean I favor Leigh Wood. To the contrary, I think that Josh Warrington has more left in the tank than Leigh Wood. I favor Josh Warrington to win this fight by unanimous decision if he doesn't get caught again. But there is a higher possibility of him getting caught than he did in the first one, and he obviously got caught in the first one. Not saying he's going to, but I think the comfortability of knowing your opponent is a factor that Leigh Wood is heavily relying on for this fight. So, you guys heard my prediction. I got Josh Warrington by a unanimous decision in an exciting fight. I'm not doing nothing Saturday but watching boxing all day, and my kids will join me, and it's going to be a great time. But honestly, I do think Warrington has more left in the tank. I feel like he showed that he can take power punches by going the distance with Kachechi. So I don't think he's going to have that moment. And I want to add one more thing before I do this closing is, right, I didn't see Warrington getting hurt much in that first fight versus Leigh Wood. That stunningness, that him being hurt almost came out of nowhere. So I don't expect lightning to strike again. I wouldn't be fully shocked, but I got my man's Warrington by decision, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Which fight you excited for this weekend? If you like this type of content, you're breaking down fighters, like and subscribe to the channel. You heard? Boom.